Hello, what's up guys? This is Jouni Juurila from Floorball Made Simple, and today we're gonna do our first reaction video because some influencers in Finland were talking about improvement of floorball in different countries and making some quite radical statements in their own channels, and we're gonna respond to those. So this video is about correcting misinformation about floorball's development across the world. And the reason why I'm making this video is that few very loud-mouthed floorball influencers were stating that floorball has not grown in anywhere since the year 2020. And that is just categorically false, and everybody knows that. If you have been following any sort of floorball associations work across the world, you know that that is false. Finnish F-League got their own part of the critique because when Finnish F-League was rebranded again in year 2020, they stated really high goals that floorball would be a widely followed sport in Asia and India, and especially that F-League would be followed in those countries. Influencers were further to state that no one follows floorball in Asia or India. And that is just absolutely false and totally nuts even to say something like that out loud. They also said that no one knows the existence of F-League in these continents, which is also totally bollocks. Their cocky attitude towards smaller floorball countries motivated me to set the record straight, and in this video we are going to take a further look into some of the, let's say, smaller floorball countries, if somebody could call those small, and we are going to tell exactly how the fact is what is happening on floorball in these countries, so the influencers and audience might get some proper information on that matter. So the facts surrounding F-League. This is not as important slide as the other ones in this video from the perspective of floorball's growth on international scale, but F-League had quite drastic and big goals on how people follow F-League in the year 2028. So their strategy was scheduled to be on 2020 until 2028. And they were saying like that many people follow F-League, know the players, know the clubs, and buy a huge amount of merchandise from these clubs and the league in Asia and India in the 2028 year. That might be a big goal and a quite of a let's say a high-ended goal, but doable, of course, but your games need to be made as easy to access as possible. Right now, many leagues and associations worldwide are putting actually in and resharing F-League's top players' performances on their own social media channels, so that way they are getting, yes, acknowledge the existence of F-League, but to watch the full games, that is the acceleration button if you want to get the league more properly known in other parts of the world. So the games would be, or they would need to be easy to access, and the access needs to be less expensive than right now, and you should be able, because those are coming from Ruutu in Finland, F-League games, and you need to buy a full Ruutu Plus service to watch those games. But if you want Finnish floorball to be more accessible worldwide, you need to have an option just to buy a singular game or only F-League games or something. And we need to get more exposure to the games before we can expect the acknowledgement of F-League to grow in other parts of the world. Is floorball growing in the smaller floorballing countries? There is only one answer to that: for sure it is. For sure it is. Of course, the wideness of the growth depends totally of the country that we are talking about, and some countries are just growing their amount of players in a more faster pace right now, and they are increasing the level of competition in different ways. Some previously active European floorball countries have grown a bit stagnant. right? And are not able to increase the amount of players and have not focused that much on improving the coaching quality. So I will not point out which countries I think that these are, but some countries have become stale at this moment, and the level of the league is not increasing in a fast enough pace when we compare it to the smaller countries. And that creates a advantage to the smaller countries if you start to focus on actual coaching quality, training quality, and individual player improvement. You can chase up those European nations that have grown a bit stagnant on floorball improvement. In many newer floorball countries, new clubs are being founded constantly, and teams are focusing more in the proper actions and abilities in the practices, and especially the amount of junior teams, how many kids are playing. That is the acceleration button on increasing the level in floorball and in total what kind of game you are playing. And if the bigger floorball countries don't drop any players from their active players so far, the amount of total floorball players internationally will increase, because the smaller ones are increasing their numbers steadily. So if the bigger ones do their job, the total floorball player number will be bigger in 5 years. Okay, and then there is a little list, and this is only my assessment of what countries are increasing their floorballing performance right now. And where have I gotten this impression of these countries? Of course, I know where those Scandinavian or top 4 country coaches are being active. I know many people. I have been talking with many clubs around the world, and I have heard what kind of actions they have in these countries. And I have been noticing that how many new teams are popping up in these countries. So that's sort of the base of my information in this regard. But here's the list. Slovakia, for some reason I know a bit about that country. They are increasing the player amounts. Then there's Slovenia, Singapore, South Korea, Austria, Germany, Burkina Faso, Kenya, Japan, India, Brasilia, Hungary, and Ivory Coast. And on the next slides, we are going to go through few of those examples to show to all you audience and to some Finnish influencers that how some of those mentioned countries in the mentioned continents that they were saying that nobody knows the existence of floorball, how those countries are bettering their performance. And if I'd had a crystal ball in my hand, I would see in the future, and I would say that all of these countries mentioned in that previous list will lift their IFF ranking within 2 years, so somewhat higher in the IFF ranking. But if you look at the 5-year longer term improvement, these will jump much higher in the IFF ranking. Some have the competitive edge through getting more experience from top 4 countries, which means that they're pumping in more coaches and players from top 4 countries, which will of course push the level of the league play higher and upper in their own domestic leagues. Some have the advantage through multinational leagues, and some are increasing the amount of players faster than others. At first, we have a country that is very, very, very dear to me, which is Slovakia. And I know a bit about what's going on in floorball in this country because I'm actually going to move to Slovakia in the beginning of June, and I'm going to coach for the next 2 seasons in a big successful club called FBC Trenčín. And I was actually spectating the U17 categories Slovak Championship games with juniors on the last week, and I saw what was happening on the field, so I got some very credible information on that topic. The amount of players is increasing in this country in a steady pace, and especially in the youth categories. And the Slovak U17 Championship tournament proved that the clubs, even the smaller clubs, are adding more junior teams into their arsenal, and thus there are more teams active in junior leagues than any other time before. They are getting influences to their floorball work from, of course, Czech Republic and from Finland, apparently, right now in this moment. highly competitive national team and men's IFF-ranking 6 spot, and they are very good runner-ups to increase in that ranking list. They have very good facilities on improving players and teams, and many clubs right there have proper gym training facilities and many fitness and conditioning facilities available to them, and good halls where to train. They have a long heritage on floorball and in ice hockey department that will help on improving on floorball, because they have another stick team sport where they can get influences from. And there was an absolutely huge intensity even in the junior games, so I can bet you that you will hear more from Slovakia in international games. Then Slovenia, a country that just qualified to their first World Championship tournament in the men's tournament, and congratulations for that. That is a really big deal. And I know a bit about this country as well, because I have been communicating with many people from that country and I know what is happening. And I have actually communicated with many of their opponents as well, so I have a good view on this country. Their best men's teams participate in the International Floorball League, which is called by its other name a three-nation league with Hungarians and Austrian teams. Most of their IFL teams are in the top positions in the IFL, and Slovenian countries have won every single title so far in that league that has been running, correct me if I'm wrong, but since 2018. And they have the widest and most competitive youth production in all of those IFL nations, and I bet that if they keep on adding new youth teams, this country will climb up the IFF ranking with a very, very fast pace. And next up, South Korea. And about this country I know rather much also, because I have been communicating with many clubs and people from this country, and I have seen how active their association on floorball is. And they have a very good groove going on. And this is a direct jab to the Finnish influencers that really look your info up before you publish something out loud, because South Korea has many new clubs forming as we speak. They are popping up like mushrooms in the rain, and they are adding more clubs and more junior teams in those clubs, so they are in that fast improvement phase in their league. And they are very active on participating on international events. As I said, their union is very active and holding a lot of recruitment events for getting new floorball players and people to acknowledge the existence of floorball in that country. And this will create, with the long term, a wider player base and amount of players active in that country. Pace of the games is very fast, and players can play quick floorball. And this can be seen through their very active communication in social media, in these clubs and in that very active union, as I said. And I predict that they have a very high potential to challenge many stagnantly grown European countries in few years of time. So good luck to South Korea. Next up, Burkina Faso. New teams are being formed in this country in a fast pace, and many new players are joining the sport. And it has been just a joy to watch, really, their union's social media messaging that they have been publishing in their sites, that how they are able to hold these outdoor floorball practices where there are so many kids enjoying floorball, and these new clubs and new players that are joining floorball activities. This is growing in a very fast pace. The amount of total players right now does not look that big, but I bet that we go even 2 years further from this. And if they're able to register all of those players that they have actually active, the number will be huge. And actually the number of the current players most likely is way bigger right now. I just think that they haven't registered most of those players yet. They have much players at this moment. And they are the first African team to participate in an official international tournament, which was the 3vs3 championships in Lahti, Finland this year. And they have a very active union that is promoting the sport a lot on social media and holding many events on the player recruitment side. They are getting more and more juniors in their activities, and that will be the core of their growth in the future. And I will predict that these guys are going to participate in a world championship qualification tournament, either in the men's or females category in the near future, let's say 2 to 4 years from now, and they will participate. Another country that is growing their floorball performance is Austria. And they have a very long history on floorball and culture built on floorball right there in this country. Clubs are increasing the size and amount of junior teams, which will be the acceleration button on growing the performance. The level of floorball in their domestic leagues has improved in the men's highest categories because the participation to the International Floorball League, as we mentioned earlier, and they are acquiring Scandinavian coaching knowledge, and many of my good colleagues are coaching there, and I know that they're doing a good job in those countries. And they are getting more and more international players to the league, which means that many of their clubs have players from Czech Republic, from Finland, Sweden, and other countries like that. And they will climb up in the IFF ranking steadily within the next 5 years. Next we have Japan. And this is among the most players having Asian countries right now. And they have started their growth and improvement of players among the first Asian nations to do so in floorball. They have much heritage and experience on floorball, and actually many Scandinavian people have been coaching in their national teams in the history. New teams and clubs are popping up steadily, and they are adding in more junior categories as well and getting more males and females teams in their activities. They are very actively resharing SSL, Czech Super League, and F-League highlights in their social media, so they are getting some influences and exposure to the high-level games and performances of top individuals from those top 4 countries. They have many national team coaches that follow the top 4 countries' influences rather much, and that helps out by itself on bringing the level in that country higher. And they will definitely climb up in the IFF ranking and will surpass many European nations in the following years. Let's say 4 years, and Japan will be way higher in the IFF ranking. Next up we will have India. And this was some of those countries that the influencers were saying that nobody follows floorball in that country. And then I can respond, look your information up. You can see many Facebook pages where there are actually being posted that people are playing floorball with quite a high player number in India, and there are many big clubs in India that are on Instagram showing how they train and what kind of activities they have there. I'm sure that their player amount is also way higher than informed. They probably haven't just registered all of the players in that country. And there are a few of their bigger clubs that actually collaborate with big SSL clubs, and they get some knowledge of what the teams and players are doing in Sweden through that, right there, down there in India. And just the pure mass of the people in the country is a competitive advantage for the country. You don't need to get as big of a percentage of people playing floorball to get a huge player base right over there. The amount of juniors and adults in the country is increasing steadily, and I can bet that they will qualify into World Championship tournament in the future, sooner rather than later. Then we have Singapore, and they are among the countries in this list that has a sort of best grooves going on in floorball right now, and I predict very high future and things happening on Singaporean floorball. They have acquired Scandinavian coaching knowledge that will help out on their improvement. They have collaborated with F-League and SSL clubs. I don't want to mention the clubs which they are, because I don't know that is this a public information, but some SSL clubs, very good ones, and one Finnish, a very good club. At least those have been collaborating and sharing their experiences to this country. There is not a huge competition on the team sports regard in this country, and that is also a competitive advantage for floorball in this country. They have a huge individual talent and skill amount in their national teams and in their league, and players are very individually skilled. Probably how to use that skill in floorball field is the next part, or the next step for the country. The after effects of holding Women's World Championships 2023 will make big influences on their floorball improvement. Many school kids were watching the games during the tournament. Many of these kids will get into floorball practices in the future, because I am sure that many of those kids fell in love with our sport because they were actually rooting for women's national teams in the tournament. If they can fully capitalize on the after effects of the Women's World Championship tournament, they'll jump their level up with a very fast pace, and I predict that they will improve past many European nations in the next 5 years on floorball. And this video today was a bit of a hot take, reacting to some nonsense in the Finnish floorball conversation. So I want to get you guys involved and tell me that, do you agree or disagree with my assessments or predictions of these countries and their futures? Or was any of my assessments widely off or exaggerated? And the most important question, what country do you think will lift up their level the most in the whole floorballing world? That I would love to hear from all of you. And now it's time to say thank you, kiitos. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, and follow us on social media. We are on Instagram. Have a great weekend.